I wrote a book a while back called The Immortal Knowledge, a message to the African grassroots. In that book, I did tell you, and I've since dropped a few audios out here. I've since created some YouTube audios, and I've told you these Africans who follow and practices the religions given to them are sellouts. And when you use that standard, you know you have no leaders. Just using that, you know you have no leaders. And this is not just me um, pointing out. It's obvious. Take, for instance, an example of a man called Ruta. Think about it. Think about it with me. I actually still have in my library a picture of him and Uhuru being preyed upon. At least Uhuru, I don't know if he has the British or English name. All I know his name is Uhuru Kenyatta. I forget the middle name, right? You know, Ruta is already a sellout. I mean, I have maintained this. I'm repeating this. I will tell you till my dying days. You go to Europe, nobody goes by uh, African names. No white kid is born with an African name. Not one. But we as right there, and I'm using my brother Ruta as an example. He goes by William, right? He is a man who knows so well that the Europeans don't give a damn about us. They don't give a shit about us. I'm telling you because somebody has to tell you. We are getting kids. We are having children, and you would hear or you be astonished with the names that we give our children, the English names. Some of the English names that someone in England would even struggle to remember that name, and yet it's an English name. That's how far a sellout we've become. There is no European or white person or a Caucasian having their children and say, this one is, I'm going to use some Kikuyu name, some Luo name, or some. They don't do that. Only us. So right there and then, whenever you saw them days where Ruto and Uhuru kneeling down for prayers, you knew. For me, you don't know yourself, but I'm telling you, I already seen it and I already knew. It's fakery. A bunch of tricks done to Africans. You have to look at history, my friends. Because when they were kneeling, being prayed upon, I'm telling you, man, it was gamemanship. It's like, this is what we need to do to get the sheep to believe that we're good. A lion can lay down on the field and act like a sick death till the deers and all these other uh, wild animals think he has no power. So when you saw him, I mean Uhuru and Ruta kneeling for some prayers, that right there for me was clear cut. There is no leadership here. And guess what? Within 5 years, your prayers were answered. Meaning there is no prayer that will be answered. Uhuru and Ruta were going separate ways. I mean, all right, you wanna go into the political world, and maybe because this, because that. I don't give a damn. If prayer works, them two should have been brothers all the way. All right, let that go. The new phenomenon or the new scenario of Rikati Kashagwa and, uh, um, and, and, and Ruta, right? Think about it again. Here's your answers, my friends. Here it is. These two supposedly are technically preachers. Even Ruta himself has said if when he's done with politics, he'll go back to preaching. I mean, his wife is the one who's the master of prayers, I guess. I think at some point she was praying the, for, for the well, for the people to get water from the well or the water in the well to be clean. Imagine the delusionment that they have. Now, you had a deputy president, Kashakwa, and Ruto, both of them deep in religion. I mean, I mean, at this point, Kashakwa is a fool. I mean, not both of them. Of course, they are using this religion to manipulate others, or to manipulate the people. But you know, Kashako was played. He is a fool. That's why he's out there right now making noise and root of this, looking like a divorced woman who's out there, uh, divorced woman or divorced husband who is out there whining about the wife. If you divorced and if this person was no good, go build your own new home or new house, new family. So you know Gachagua is a fool. There's no question in my mind that the dummy was a dummy. But both of them, though, suffice to say, were Christians who knelt down for prayers, man. Think about it with me. Here it is a failure by the supposed Christians. They are failing right in front of your face, in front of your eyes. They are failing right there. You can see them fail. That tells you there is no prayer that works. Remember, when Uhuru, I mean not Uhuru, but Gachagua and Ruto were running, they had made so much noise to suggest that Raila and them were Muslim and so forth. It really, that elections of the 2022 elections, it almost automatically, almost like to me, it had become something like a religious fight. I remember Raila's wife suggesting that the Muslims were being overlooked. And so when they made those comments during that election time, I remember the Ruta and Gachagua team saying Kenya is a Christian nation. Here it is, let's pray, right? So you had two brothers or two preachers. This is no normal Kenyan. These are millionaire preachers who are supposedly praying every day. I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm give you some good news, some bad news here for you who you still think prayers work, man. I'm telling you that marriage between Ruta and Gachagua, as you know, only lasted 1 year. One goddamn year, man. These are men who are supposedly believing that they're right, they're doing the right thing. Their marriage did not last 1 year, which that tells you the prayer doesn't work. And that's why I keep telling you, a man who follows and practices religions given to him or her is a sellout. That standard, when applied to all these politicians, you will see why they are all failing you. Well, you will see why they are all lying to you. So what you have now is they rob you. See, here's why you hear corruption is ongoing. They rob you as politicians. They do their own selfish games there, right? As politicians. On the weekends, they come pray with you. But because you're a slave mentally, you will be saying we need to forgive each other because it's wrong to forgive, to hold on grudges, to hold on bitterness, it's not, they tell you it's wrong to remain angry from sunrise to sunset. So they rob you politically. Then they come home and rob you spiritually or through this religious nonsense. That's what's happening to you. A man who follows and practices Christianity or Muslim is a sellout. I am telling you. If you are going to be real, you're going to want to say, okay, what was our forefathers, what were they doing? If indeed any prayer is working, why don't you go back to that old way of praying or worshiping? Because this one right outright doesn't work. The the preachers are lying to you every weekend. They're lying to you. I know why they're lying to you. No, nobody know about no Bible. Bible is not the word of God. You don't even know if the God exists. You don't even know if the hell is exists. But you're already believing some dude, some punk lying to you every Sunday, and then you give him money. But here's my point, my friends. The amount of money we fundraise every Sunday, I'm telling you, man, it hurts me when when I see our people every Sunday going to church. It's one thing to go to church and say, you know what, I want to, in your belief system, to seek some forgiveness or whatever, or to clean yourself. It's one thing to do that. But it's another to give money and then turn around on Monday and accuse a router or the government of mismanagement of funds. This is why you can never hold them accountable, because you are a part of the mess. You are a part of this problem. Because if indeed you want the government to distribute, this is why, I mean, politics really is the sharing of resources, right? The government is mandated through the Constitution to collect money in terms of taxes from you, then turn around and distribute. So these politicians that you send to up there to parliament are to negotiate and agree on how those resources collected are going to be shared. But if you do not have a working economy, then the government cannot collect enough. And when the government cannot collect enough, then you have no reason to even fight to send someone to be the president, to be the MP or the senator for your area, because there's no money anyways to fight from there. Go back to the grassroots, which is build your economy at home. This is why when I see what the president has done, and I appreciate him, I think he's tried from where Kenya was to where Kenya is right now, but not through prayers though. There ain't no prayers working. He has tried, but I think the man is misguided. You don't go build houses in cities when the youth are jobless. You start with making sure these young men who are coming up are have some sort of an economy that works. So his priority is upside down. Yeah, ultimately you might need houses. But when he became the president in 2022, Kenyans were not homeless. Kenyans have figured out how to survive, how to live. What you need is to create a working economy, not to build apartments or houses for the youth. In as much as I think some of them will appreciate it, the idea that you have thousands of Africans, of Kenyans, of the youth who are jobless, and you're busy building apartments, instead of making sure each city is hiring hundreds, if not thousands, of youth every month by creating processing stations. Like if you're in the sites, I mean, outside, mostly on the middle and the west of Kenya, where there's more agricultural stuff going on. You would put your money in the agriculture. You would put the money on the processing stations or processing companies for the produce coming out of the farms. You put your money there. That's where the president was supposed to start his work at. Not to go build some apartments. And the worst thing now is every Sunday, guys, I watch this news. I'm going to tell you right here, I don't go to no damn church. I don't go to sit there and listen to some dumbass lying to me about, oh, God said this. How? Told you when? How? If you know God and if your God is so good, why don't you go to heaven? Go hang yourself, go kill yourself, and go over there so you can make a phone call from there and tell us where you at. I don't go to church, But I see the president. I see the deputy president. I see all these misleaders that you call them, the member of parliament, the senators, all of them are going in the church every Sunday to give money and fundraise for building of a church while the youth are desperate. This is why you see now the youth are running to the president. The other day, now some of you people are talking the president is not safe. What do you mean it's not safe? There is nobody safe in Kenya. I'm talking about there is nobody safe in Kenya. See, this is the hypocrisy that I said before. We, the people, are the ones who are causing the problem. Think about it this way. In Nairobi, in any street you walk on, tell me anyone who's working around holding their phones on their heads. Walking free, no worries, no concern. Who is that person? You walk around hiding your phone because people are ready to grab your phone and take off. Just your phone. You're every day protecting yourself from fellow Kenyans, from fellow Christians. Every day you're protecting yourself. Why? The youth are not saying, or the people who are stealing are not saying, I just want to be a thief. They have no other means of surviving. They have no other way to get 10 shillings, 20 shillings for food. No other way. So here it is why, this is why now you all hypocrites are going around and saying the president is not safe. What do you mean the president is not safe? When were you safe? When were you in Eldoret, in Nakuru, in Mombasa, in Nairobi, in Kitui? When were you safe in the street? When were you safe? You're never safe. You have never been safe. So why would you make noise about a president who some young man, some young lady is desperate? He knows this person is a billionaire. The news is out there that the president of Kenya is one of the richest in Africa, if not in the world. Even if it was me, if I have a chance to talk to this president, I would get close to him, run to him, and beg him, that guy, I need help here, I need help. That's what's happening. The last man who ran to the president the other day, he was holding a Bible. You don't want to talk about that now. Oh, the president is not safe. What do you mean it's not safe? The president is safe. He has his people who is building apartments coming to him, says, share the wealth, share your resources. Nobody's going out there and say, want to do something crazy to the president. They are all running to him, begging him for some help. Because that's what the Kenyan government has set in motion. You have set in motion a situation where you are dishing out money. You go to a church, you're dishing out money. You don't want to build the factories. You don't want to build manufacturing stations or manufacturing where you can manufacture stuff. You don't want to build that so the youth can hire you. No, you're dishing money to the church. You're dishing money to this person. You go find like some punk-ass governor, the former governor of Nairobi, I forget his name, the dummy who can never be a politician no more. He is finding someone who is hopeless and gives that money, dishes money to that person so that the whole world can say he is a good man. Instead of saying, all right, I'm a billionaire or I'm a millionaire in this Africa. I am about 60 years old. Surely I have maybe 20 years that I can still live good. Puts you around 80. From 80, you're pretty much useless. You're giving problems to your grandkids and everybody else has to care for you. You have 20 years to live. You big liars, the preachers, the politicians, you have 20 years if you say you're 60. If you have 20 years to live and you're a billionaire, why don't you make something so insane, so helpful to the youth, man? Why don't you build an hospital that can hire thousands of people? Instead of inviting somebody else to bring Ebola to Kenya, why don't you beg to build a hospital every Sunday? Why don't you say every Sunday, let's fundraise to build this or to improve this hospital in this city? Next week is that city or this town. Why don't you build a factory even for processing what? Corn, processing wheat, processing avocado and whatever. Why don't you do that? Why would you go dish money in church on Sunday? Why would you do that? And now when the youth run to you because they have no other way, now they're running to you. You will run, you will now complaining and saying he is not safe. No, nobody is safe in Kenya. The people who are running to the president are not running to kill the president. They are running to the president begging for some help. You haven't seen nobody go in there and wanna injure the president. They are begging him because that's the setting he has set. He knows, everybody knows he got the most money in Kenya. So what do I do? If I have a chance to be seen with him, if he's not one of these liars, though, of course, some people nowadays could do something so crazy so they can get a clip, so they can go post on social media, so they can make money from the likes from YouTube and so forth. That's the insane world we're in. Again, my friends, I repeat to you, I'm telling you, a man who's got African names is a European, it's not an African. An African who has a European name is not an African, he's European. A person who wears names of the whites is a sellout, can never lead you. Look at all these politicians. The one thing I respect with the Kikuyu, sometimes I see Kikuyu, like I used to see Kipaki. You don't hear no English name for Kipaki. Even Rigathi Gachagua, he's using Rigathi Gachagua, but I think he's got an English name. But the dummy is just a fool still because he's still following the format of religion, but at least he's let go the English name. Uhuru, no English name. But you have someone like William and most of these politicians. Why would you call yourself by an English name? An African. Why don't you even lead your people and tell them it's time to change? It is time. It's about time to be an African. Look at the Americans. The Americans are telling all the foreigners, all the immigrants in America, get the hell out of there. They don't want them no more. How then would you have your child be born and call that child Donald? Donald doesn't want you. Why would you call your child Donald? Look here. I always say this, man. It is time for us to make a change. We cannot be successful no matter right now. You can accuse Ruta of this. Ruta was delusion from day one. Rigathi Gachagua is a delusion from yesterday. None of them, all of these guys who are holding the Bible, I'm telling you, judge them by that book they are holding. Because in that book, there is no truth. I've already told you, prayer is nonsense. It's been proven time and time again. It doesn't work. Spirituality is nonsense. Heaven or hell is nonsense. The Bible is not the truth. The Bible is a claim. Needs to be substantiated, needs to be proven, needs to be verified. And there is nobody who can verify there was a man called Jesus Christ. Nobody can prove that there's a man who resurrected. You can talk about nobody witnessed. They went into the tomb and they didn't find him. And guess what? There is also a word out there that the Romans killed a militant who was a mistake. He was hanged, and of course the Romans used to kill anybody who retaliated. All around Mediterranean Sea, there were militants who were rebelling against the Romans because Romans were ruling that area. So when they captured you, you would be crucified and put to death, right? So they mistakenly, the other story that goes is they mistakenly crucified a man who was a rebellious Messiah. This man was apparently was the wrong one because after he was crucified, the body was removed by the Egyptians or whoever was living in that area. So that when the Romans come, they don't come and identify this guy as maybe it was the wrong one. They were trying to save the one who was still alive. These are stories. There is nobody who has verified or saw a man rising from the dead. All these books were written 50, 60, 100 years after the fact. You don't even remember what happened last week. Do you remember everything what happened last week? If you're told to write down what happened last week, would you remember? Imagine 50, 60, 100 years later, someone writes, I saw Jesus. Where? He resurrected. How? Where did you see this? Oh, it's all a lie. And anything that you read in that book is not true. And this is why I keep telling you, you've been bamboozled to believe in this nonsense. Gods don't speak for themselves. You speak for yourself. When you pray, you are talking to yourself. I'm going to repeat that again. When you pray, you are talking to yourself. You are a God who speaks for yourself. That's why God likes what you like. Listen to me, my friends. When you pray, you're talking to yourself. That's why when you say, so you say, I'm praying, you imagine, they even told you to close your eyes, right? But when you talk, you're talking to yourself. You're talking to yourself. There's nobody else who can be proven that was listening to you. Nobody spoke to you back. You have a mental problem if you think someone is talking to you. When you are praying, you're talking to yourself. God's like what you like. That's why you think there's a God, because what you like is you. That's why God gives you when you get. You work for something, when you get, you say God gave you. When you graduate, when you make money, when you succeed, when you win, you did that as a God of yourself. That's why Satan steals and robs and so forth that which you hate losing. Meaning, if you wanted to win and you didn't win, you blame it on Satan. Right? When you do something and you win, you credit God. It's crazy. When bad things happen, you wear certain shoes and accuse yourself or other people. When good things happen, you wear God's uniform and credit Him. He's not there. You are the creator of your wishes, but you think it's that Caucasian God who creates. God don't speak for themselves, my friend. You speak for yourself and call that God speaking. Human beings created stories and called it God's directions. All books were written by men, not gods. You don't find no book with a signature from God. It's written by men. Even the Bible with all these 66 books and the ones that were left out were written by men. It was printed by men, distributed by men. Now you have these lying preachers or agents of the whites or of the Caucasians selling you the same nonsense. All right. I had to blow your mind, man. But, Mary, mother of Jesus, whoever Jesus guy, Ben Joseph, that was the dude who supposedly was killed, was not a virgin, man. At least we know Angel Gabriel from the kindergarten story had sex with her. We know of no miracle. There must have been some sexual act if there was indeed some boy who was born around that area. And that boy obviously was black, but right now you have a white picture on the wall. Think about it this way. Since Moses, that's where Moses broke the law. Since Moses broke the law, that means there were laws before. If the Ten Commandments were given to Moses by a God in a goddamn burning bush, this is the retardation you hear. They say before that Moses broke the law. That means Moses broke the laws that were there before. And he stole 10 of those laws and called it the 10 commandments given to his ass uh, by a God in a burning bush. Africans had laws. They were stolen from them. And think about it this way. You know how they sometimes have and sorry, I've gone a little bit off of what I wanted to talk about. Um, they say the pyramids, they don't even want to give you credit. I know you in Kenya right now. I don't believe that you have any connection to the pyramids in Egypt. But yes, you do. The pyramids were built by the Egyptians, and Egyptians were Africans. They just cannot even give you that credit to say you were smart. We took your ideas and made it better. They cannot even give you that credit. And you've become the real slave because even with that, you cannot even say we were better, we were smart, we are good. You can't even do that. You can't. You do not want to even give yourself credit and say we are a better people. We were smart. We build nations. We build the pyramids. But think about it this way. If indeed the Europeans came from Europe, imagine them coming from Europe. They travel to Africa. They build the pyramids, then go back to their ice shelters. No, no, man. The pyramids were built by Africans. Look, this is all to tell you. You are a great person as an African. I've traveled this world. There is no better place and good people than Africans. We are good people. All these beliefs that you have were given to you. And it is feeding your brain. And it is making you think weird. And it is making you think some help can come from somewhere else other than your own might, your own energy. And it is this belief that is feeding your leaders. It is this belief that makes you leaders not to champion work, champion union, champion some work by humans. There is you can serve two masters, my friends. What your politicians are doing is that which they cannot do, they tell you let's go to God, let's go to sweet baby Jesus to help us. Is why they cannot put 100% or all energy in the work of making things better. Look at when COVID was around. Are you aware of any research center that was fighting and trying hard in Kenya to produce a cure or even, oh yeah, right, we're dealing with cancer right now. Where is the research center that's working tirelessly night and day in Kenya to find even some way to contain cancer? None. COVID, none. Our misleaders are putting all on God. And that's why I keep telling you, belief is ruining you and us and Kenya and Africa. Because instead of working on getting things right, we want to send it over to some afterlife or some heaven or someplace you don't know, never been, nobody's ever then been there and come back. You rather send your calling, your need to somewhere and hope that help comes. And then when you work hard and secure something that you needed and succeed, instead of saying I did it, and instead of saying my brother, my sister helped me, you want to create some nobody that was not there, which is a sweet baby Jesus or some God. And that's what is happening with your African leaders. That's what's happening with all of them. You can see by their first name that tells you this is not a true African. And then after you see their first names, look at the way they behave. Instead of working hard, they're saying, let's pray. What is the prayer for if it's not working? I started by telling you how these politicians, look at Uhuru and Ruto, how they went different ways. These are men who started by praying, being together, running for president together, and yet they disagreed and went different ways. That tells you prayer doesn't work. Rigathi Gachagua, that tells you prayer doesn't work. Rigathi Gachagua and Ruto, prayer doesn't work. So prayer doesn't work. It is your union. It is your resources put together that will bring a difference in Africa, not some stories that you're being told, some lies that were given to you. I'm telling you again, the worst person right now misleading Africa is a preacher and a politician. Think through this. I hope this has any meaning to you.